We stand tall, words of blades that never fall to bait, warriors brave. Every thought we give and save. In the ring we stand tall, words of blades that never fall to bait like warriors brave. Every thought we give and save. Through the noise we cut clean, spirited mind sharp and keen. With a spark that lights the night, join us in this epic fight. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance in this arena. There's no chance to escape the fight by lore. Dive in deep and search for more. From heartfelt talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance in this arena. There's no chance to escape the fight by lore. Dive in deep and search for more. In the ring we stand tall, words are blades that never fall. Debate like warriors brave, every thought we give and save. Through the noise we cut clean, spirited minds sharp and keen. With a spark that lights the night, join us in this epic fight. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance. In this arena there's no chance to escape the vibrant lore. Dive in deep and search for more. From heartfelt talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Heard. Will be heard. Will be heard.
Spartans! What is your profession?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all sizes, welcome to Spartan HQ Network. I am your host, Ghost of Sparta, also known as Peter, also known as the Greek god, also known as the Greek legend. I got a lot of nicknames, but I can't do this show by myself. Of course, I have some guys back there. Let's introduce them first. Let's bring the first guy in. He is known as the most incredible man in the world. He's also known as Little Groot. My second person coming on, he is half Saiyan, he is half human. Of course, I am talking about Reckless, right? Hey, David, really, really, you gotta take his breath away. I know you have a thing for Reckless, but god damn, that's all I have to say. First of all, how are you gentlemen doing tonight before we get into the show?
Um, One day at a time, peeling like an onion, being more blunt than ever,
Oof,
not sparing no emotion. How about that?
Kind of look like an onion sometimes.
man. We over here grinding, man. We get money. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna go get that money. I'm gonna be sleepy. I'm gonna go get money. Like that's what I'm gonna do.
You're
That's what we
sleeping
doing.
dead, right?
Right, right.
So tonight's topic is about community. It's a don't you dare shake your head at me, little boy, grandpa.
Last time I checked, that sound too big to be a little boy.
You're
Woo.
right. You're right. You're right.
He
You're
got
right.
bear paws. He got bear paws.
And great grandpa.
Uh, I might well be an immortal then.
Community is such a topic lately with everything going on.
Mm-hmm.
A topic that we kind of take it with grain of salt in a way. If you really think about it, the old community that we grew up on is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like going to your neighbor's house, playing outside late, but we are trying to rebuild that like it was. I want you guys to marinate that, food for thought for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you guys are thinking that, oh, great, glasses are on. That's never a good sign. So, I'll let David go first because he has his glasses. He's trying to look smart.
Interesting. Interesting. I'm here trying to figure out how we're gonna think about this. So I just say, you know what? Let's look at Google. What do Google say what their community is, right? So I'm looking up Google, aka Gemini, and
Mm.
its new code name. With me, I hate to say it, you might end up dying twice. And Google said, according to Gemini Search Lab AI Overview, a community is a group of people who share a common characteristic, interest, or location, fostering social interaction and a sense of belonging. Here are more detailed explanations. Characteristic and interest. Community can be defined by shared geological location, like a neighborhood, ethnicity, religion, occupation, or interest, like a book club or online forum. Hmm. Interesting. On the social aspect of things, a key aspect of a community is interaction and connect among its members. Sense of belonging. Community often involve a feeling of belonging and shared identity among its members. Now, when I look at that definition according to Google Gemini, that don't sound what I'm looking for. But even though you search a little further and further, it's saying it's the same thing. a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitude, interests, and goals. People living in the same area have particular characteristics in common. It sounds like they have what you call, what the word, another C word called? Yeah, culture. But when you want to rebuild the community, what community are you talking about, or which one are you referring to? That should be the real question. Because we live in a country that have multiple communities, where some are striving, while some are about to be non-existent. And this has been a conversation on the Black YouTube space for so long, but it's kind of like idiotic because, for one, no one wants to admit what the problem is, or if you want to go for the jugglers, too many people think they got big balls. I think I got small balls. The balls are not big enough to wear the pants, so they got to wear those type of pampers to hold it together so it doesn't fall out. Don't want to admit what the issue is and how to go about the solution to the problem. I'm gonna be the one here on this show who will call it out to it and tell it like it is without caring about your emotion or your feelings. I don't really care if I'm gonna get canceled or I'll get a no. You have to speak the actual truth. You can't deal with the truth and then you're a constant lie yourself. So to build a community, you gotta ask yourself what is missing, what is lacking. What kind of foundation are you building a community on? That should be a real conversation you have today. I digress.
Okay, hold on, Pat, Pete. I need to know because I was super long winded and I got lost in his comment, so I don't want to respond to what he said. What was the question?
What is community to you personally? When
Oh,
you
okay.
go ahead.
Okay. So to me personally, I would say it's a group of people that carry your same value sets that are not necessarily 100% aligned as though you were on a team, but more or less you guys are working towards a common goal, moving in the same direction.
So that is the way to look at it.
Mhm.
But what is the biggest challenge we face today's community, for example?
Easy.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, David.
No, look, you go ahead. 'Cause I want to give you a short answer. We got too much idiot in our so-called communities. That's our
Okay.
biggest challenge.
Okay. I would say that we have fallen for individualism, but I mean, in the West, specifically speaking to America and the issues that we have, it's that this was not built, this country wasn't built on an overarching community of America. Like we had segregation, we've gone through racism, we've done all the things, all the stuff that the ashy knuckled, black fisted revolutionaries love to throw their hand in the air about. Those things actually happen. Um, but there's no community, and we got sold this lie that there was a white community and they were doing so well, and they're not because there's no community there either. There are people who do well, and then you can look and point a reference. You see a lot more white people who do well, but they're not going and helping white kids in trailer parks. They ain't saving white people that live in rural America. Like them kids are poor as fuck, and they get looked over. They literally will go give money to a poor black person before they go acknowledge that a poor white person exists. So there's no communities. You see pockets of people that win, and we got sold this idea that there were teams. There aren't any teams. There's no white landia for white people to go to. You're Greek, you're not white. So there's no black landia for us to go to. CDN, he ain't black. He from somewhere with a rich history of where he's from, and he knows it. So there's no team. As far as what we should have, we have the semblance of an overarching community, which would be, hey, we're Americans, we want to strive to be all that we can be, we want to live the American dream. We have the MAGA movement, but what have they done with that? They don't even want that to be a community. It's not supposed to be about being Americans and being excellent like we told the rest of the world we were. They equate that to racism. So not only do we not have communities, people want to separate and segregate themselves so much that they are actually, the problem that we have predominantly is that we live in a culture now that is anti-community. They don't want to be a part of a community. They don't want to be on a team, or they want their team so minuscule that there's only 5 people on it. It's like, it's just us against the world. So we got to fight with everyone else.
Can I respond to that comment?
Go ahead. I'm going to follow up after you go ahead, David, because
What
Reckless just
I
hit.
like what my brother Reckless was saying, but there's something I want to interject on that.
Okay.
What he
Like what?
said is totally correct, but it is safe to say that what have been in this country on this earth for so long is not community, but it's more so of a clan instead,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's more tribal than community-based issue. When you mention me, yeah, I know my heritage because we are part of a tribe, which is almost
Mm-hmm.
related to say that clan.
Mm-hmm.
We have been on this platform for a good amount of years, and we see what the word tribalism far more than community outrage. So it's safe
Mm-hmm.
to say we've been using the wrong word for far too long
Yep.
because that's never been the case to begin with. We have been more tribal than be community focused or community driven. Because you cannot argue the fact if you go through history of this country, it's more tribe versus tribe mentality
Mm-hmm.
than community versus community mentality. And I think people are choosing to be willfully ignorant about the actual unfiltered truth because they don't want to face the reality or they don't want to hold themselves accountable. When you look at this platform, we have people from 3 different tribes, not community. Let's be correct.
So can I interject one thing real quick from the
Go
historical
ahead.
perspective? It was community until the slaves got released. Then it became tribes
Okay, I give
because
you that one.
the North was not segregated. The North, black people lived wherever they wanted in the North, and they were integrated into those communities. And they complained when the slaves came up. I mean, I'm just saying, like when the slaves moved north,
So
because there were 2 communities that got forced into being a tribe because, and those 2 communities never got along to begin with.
so the thing I was going to mention earlier,
Yeah.
I was waiting for you guys to hit it on nail on you hit it right. What is it called? The nail.
On the head.
You think a nail on the head,
Mhm.
but Reckless hit it right on the nail on the head. I'll tell you why. He mentioned racism. Late '90s, early 2000s. We didn't give a shit about that stuff.
Yep.
I told somebody recently, I don't see fucking color. I see a person. Because
Mhm.
end of the day, it doesn't matter what you believe. If you believe in God, hopefully, most of us on this panel believe in Christ and God, and we. It says nowhere in the Bible. Last my check, like you should talk down or belittle or put offense to anybody that put a person as a slave. David, you're a Bible nerd more than me. Does that say anywhere in the Bible? No, that's what I thought. So when are we gonna stop this bullshit? When are we going to grow the fuck up as an adult and as a country and as a world saying stop using race as a goddamn excuse? I'm sick and tired of hearing that bullshit. I'm sick and tired of saying, oh, David, I'm going to use as an example. Please don't take it personal. Oh, look at that big goof over there. He's probably dumb because he's black. No, it has nothing to do with what color he is. Or look at Reckless. Like he has the weirdest laugh in the fucking world. He's annoying and stuff. Has nothing to do with that. Oh, I love how people say, "Oh, you never get arrested because you're white." My dude, I've been arrested. Go fuck off.
Damn.
Or you get treated different because you're white. My dude, fuck off again. I don't get treated differently. I get treated because of my line of work, because of how hard I work. Same thing with Ray. He works as hard. David is a dumbass, but it's a different story. But my point is trying to get to is Paul, one of my good friends. We do the gray area together, and we broke that. We're trying to break those barriers with the gray area.
hmm
David, what is the difference between me and you mostly? You're muted.
David, you're muted again. Put your mic down.
I was sorry. Well, I want to tell you this. What you're saying totally correct. I think the problem is this among this soil. There's a lack of honesty, there's a lack of transparency, there's a lack of self awareness, and a lack of self reflection. People have used race for a lot of excuses for a lot of reasons. In my field of work, which I'm sure Reckless may be familiar because some of his clients may work in my field,
hmm
there had it been a stigma that been going on for more than 2 decades. And I will call it out to that. I work in IT.
hmm
And for some apparent reason, this had been the scale that I observed in that field. What a white person supposed to do in that field don't have to do too much. As long as enough is good.
hmm
But when you are a black person, you don't do the same amount of work that a white person do. You have to do twice as hard to prove your worth. Keyword. If you're a Caribbean, it ends up becoming 3 to 5 times harder. Afro Latinas in between the black and the Caribbeans, you gotta work around 2 to 3 times harder. But for an African, we gotta work from 5 to 10 times harder to prove that we actually belong there. What I find it amazing is they apply to the promotion. You see, they'll promote the non-black people quicker than they promote people of our color because they feel like we haven't worked hard enough. What that phrase? Pull yourself among your bootstrap.
hmm
That logic is so effed up. Sometimes I wish I
I
could take a
disagree,
time
David.
machine.
I was about to say I don't agree with that.
I disagree completely with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I
Because
disagree.
I
I disagree
seen,
with that
hang on,
nonsense.
hang on. Let me finish what I'm gonna say before you cut me off. All right. I
Okay.
have seen very educated, very career driven black women who are so good, and they will promote. Doesn't matter you're white, black, green, orange, pink, or whatever. And I've seen it the other way too. A white woman will promote a black guy or a black woman because she's doing the fucking work. Those
And
people who did that to you, hang on,
All
let
right.
me finish one more. I got one more thing, and
Mhm.
you can take it from there. Those people who did it to you, you don't want to work for them. You don't even want to be in that same company. You don't even want to breathe the same fucking air. The only kind of air they're gonna fucking breathe is my fucking shitty farts and gonna swallow on my lunch, my bad
oh
burritos I
gosh,
had
oh
from Taco Bell.
gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Whew. And
So
I
that's the
agree
only
with you on
thing.
that. I agree
And,
with you on that because
so you saying that on air, come on, dude, you know better. Do I need to
I
say
know
more?
I know better, but at the same time I have to be honest. It's not every
I'm not.
company, and I
I'm not
totally
disagreeing
agree
with
with
you.
you.
Yeah.
It's just that for some apparent reason, we have these type of environment going far more on the private sector and never been addressed because of who's at the leadership, who's sitting at the
Well,
top. Either
the
either they decide to act on it or try to turn a blind eye to it. Without that some company are working for what some are not.
Mhm.
I totally agree on
question
that. Go ahead.
question: do you go and hang out with your bosses,
No.
or you're the type of person who I want to just go to work, get this money, and go home? Right?
I,
I'll work
unless
hard. I'll be better than everybody, but like I'm here to get this check. You're not my friends.
I don't work that way. I try to communicate and be hospitable to everybody. If the boss call me to hang out with them, I will.
Well,
But I try to be
but
respectful to
the
everybody.
but you're not making the effort. And that's why you're not getting promoted. I can tell you that right now. Like everything that I do, Kansas GOP sending me out to the fucking inauguration, dude. I have no degree, and like I was the poorest person there. People fucking like me.
I'm surprised for that.
Everywhere that I go in my field, people make assumptions, and I'll agree with you. And like Sparta, I don't agree with you on the when people look at you, there's just a trigger perception that you will get a benefit of the doubt that I wouldn't. Now, I agree with you in the sense that I'm a big taker away of excuses, so I do work harder than everybody else. Like it's blatantly obvious. That's one of the things I pride myself on. Like I'll outwork you. But what I also am is I'm more personable, and I will make you my friend. I'm really good at navigating to get what I need out of a situation because, to be honest, you have more education than me, David. So if my dumbass knows how to work people better, then I can get into a position that you're like, you shouldn't even be there. I shouldn't have the position I have now. I shouldn't have got to go to the inauguration. The job that I had before this, I shouldn't have been as valued as I was there. I should have had those opportunities. I should have never got the job that I had before that. Period. It's literally everything that I've done is relationship based because I'm good at getting people to like me. It has nothing to do with skill. Now, if you give me the opportunity, I can learn it and work harder than everybody else. But nothing I've done has been like, oh, Ray's super smart at this. He should have that job. Until I've already got the position, and after I've been there for a year, no one questions anything.
I totally agree on that statement. Well, I would tell you that where I work is to be respectful for everybody, but also trying to be as friendly as much as I can. In my field of work, what I try to do is be that person you can always call to help you with the situation. And I'm always respectful. And I say, if you have any questions, let me know. Call me back. I'll come and help you out. I take customer service as a number one responsibility. And I make sure I be respectful to everybody, regardless of your views on that.
But
But
sometimes you need to do
on
more
my
than
what I
that.
what I see on my side of the field out here in New York City is that even though I apply close to similar fundamental that you have,
Mm-hmm.
it's more of a doggy dog war out here in the city, whereby
Mm-hmm.
I get shitted on because manager like the way I work. There's a lot of managers
Mhm.
who rather call me than call somebody else. But because that I got that type of recognition,
Mm-hmm.
yes, people want to make sure that I don't go that far with that.
So you're telling me that those managers, none of them wanted to take you with them because like the way that I'm looking at that, I'm like that's like literally the most shoot yourself in the foot deal because like if you're the person who makes the person above you look good and y'all both know that you're the person who makes them look good, when they promote, they should want you one step behind them because they're like, yo, we got to keep this train going, and you go,
And I
hey, you're
and I
going to the top, I'll go behind you.
and I expected that, but it wasn't that way to begin with.
David, hang on one second.
Yeah,
What Ray's doing is one word to that. It's called networking,
yeah.
and
And
he does it really well.
I does
Um,
that.
and hang on. Sometimes you don't go chase it; they come after you. Like I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of hanging out with your bosses, but I've been offered like, "Yo, P, what you doing after work?" Like, going fucking home. Nothing crazy. He goes, "You want to catch a drink?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Like, and that we're it's all base work. We're talking about work, nothing more than that. But
Hmm.
Yeah.
before we move on, we got a special chef in the building. He hasn't appeared his face in a while. Let's
Oh
give a
Jesus.
let's give Doctor no Chef Time a shout out.
What's going on, gentlemen? Can y'all hear me?
What's
Hold
going
on.
on, our
Where
pain?
where are you at, Arpain? Is it cold where you're at?
No, I'm just putting my hat on, man. So
Oh my god.
yeah.
Before he
Well, you got a
speaks,
hat
let's
on.
acknowledge he's much older than me and he had been here to the beginning of time. Y'all time to put it in perspective.
Arpain
See,
went to
both of
school
you
with
fuckers.
Jesus.
All right, let's give the
Actually, I
floor
don't live
for
in
our
there
pain
now.
for a
It's just
second.
warm in there.
Our pain, did you catch our opening monologues or no?
Yeah, I heard some of the dribble you guys were talking about.
But
I'm
I'll give you the floor.
I'm
I'll
really
give you the
joking.
floor for a minute, and you can say what you have on mind.
Well, I mean, I know you're talking about the community and stuff like that, but I mean, it's a perspective thing, correct? When we in the black community, we used to call it black community all the time, but it's like non-existent. It depends on what class level you are. And then if you're in the lower rung or the middle part of the community, the dynamics are a whole lot different than if you're in the upper echelon. So we have a class divide that's so bad that one section of the class pretty much can't even recognize the other. And then at some points in some areas it's so dangerous you can't even really call it communities. No families, no nothing. And the families that are there living in lives of quiet desperation because if they could, they'd get out. So I don't know. In as far as Black people, African Americans as a subculture, I mean, we're dying. We are a dying breed. Women and men pretty much can't really form lasting relationships in any great number like we used to, right? And people, I mean, openly rebel against it, especially the women. They hold Black men in complete contempt for the most part. So, and then there's a new echelon of Black men saying, you know what, we don't need to put up with this shit. We're going to go out and find women elsewhere. So, it's a lot of different things like that. So I don't know what community means in the Black diaspora anymore, especially coming from the dinosaur ages where I was at before, where we had community.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was
You know what
about
I'm
to say.
saying?
You actually saw something.
Exactly. This shit
But
ain't the same.
but people, even me, people see me and I'm all tatted, even at church all the time, because I'm not up to the level. Like I don't own, a couple of houses. I don't own a BMW, Mercedes, and I think I'm like this punk ass bitch. And it's actually the opposite. When you get a chance to talk to me, and you guys talk to me all the time, and you guys, we've been doing this, what, 3 years so far, this
Mhm.
channel, and you guys see, I'm not this dumb punk ass bitch. I'm actually very, I'm gonna say educated because school wasn't my forte. Um, Pretty smart person, I believe. And when I bring topics like this up, it's something like it's been bothering me. And I need to get this is how I vent through this, believe it or not. This is my therapy session. So when I see this, like people say, oh, because you're white. No, I get judged as much as David does, or Payne does. Excuse me, or Payne or Reckless Ray. I get judged as much as you guys.
Within your community, though.
Yeah, in my own church sometimes.
Well, no, 100%. But like
Yeah.
the deal is, though, if I was at your church and I was the only Black guy there, then you're not judged the same. Like that's different. You're judged within your own people group, so you can't
Believe
go
it or
from
not,
my
bro.
purview.
Believe it or not,
I'm
we do
I'm judged here, and it's like, well, yeah, okay, so you're the worst of the white people. Like, nah. Like,
And I'm
But
glad you
we
said that
also
because
have
when
a
I was
few
talking,
people. Hang on, David. I'm gonna put this last little nugget in here. We do
mhm.
have a few people who are actually Black Orthodox, and people respect them more than they respect me.
Fair. But they've done all the social proofing things. They have the stupid car. They got a couple of houses, right?
I don't know them that personally, to be honest with you, so I don't want to
Oh,
say yes
so
or no.
I'm gonna assume because like I
Probably.
used to go to church, and church people are church people, really pretty much across the board. They look at the
Right.
social proof. They go, you've got tattoos. Oh, you don't have this stuff. Oh, you're not this. We're judging you. Within any church community, they do that. They're just like, who's this new guy? What's your deal? What's it about? Oh, do you have all the things? Because unfortunately, people look surfacely. So then you go, okay, so the first time they met these people that didn't look like them, that were Orthodox, they went, what the hell? And then they met them, and then they went, do you have all the things? Oh, okay, so you have all the same things I have, you just don't have the same skin color. All right, same value set, fine.
And I think that's what we've been struggling historically for years.
Yeah.
If anybody has any pushback, please let me know right now. Because
Well,
historically, I think
good.
we've been struggling with it for years. It doesn't matter what part of the world you come from; is your value they look at.
it's
They don't
it's
really look at.
I've been saying that for
well,
3 years.
it's always been a class issue. I mean, even when you looked at the cities that got taken down that were wealthy Black communities, who was tearing those communities up? Who killed those people? Poor white people.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the wealthy people that went and executed that. They might have allowed it. They might have turned the other way, but it wasn't them in the streets murking people. It was poor white people that were doing that. So yeah, there's always been a class issue. It's the same premise that you have with black people in the hood. You can't go help them; they will kill you.
That is fact.
I'll give you a better example. I was very young. I probably was like 17, 16, around that age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the time you want to pop your cherry, you're trying to get in every girl's pants, all that nine stuff, right? So don't don't you know what, David? Here you go.
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
So, and my first girlfriend was a black woman, a black girl.
Oh
So
snap!
So my mom goes, she sat and talked, and we had a conversation over dinner. And she goes, "Mom, are you okay with this?" I don't know. And like, I know that she turned around and cross slapped me, and almost knocked my
Whoa.
fucking jaw right out of my mouth. She goes, "It does not matter." She goes to me, "What color their skin is what kind of person it is. If she's a good woman and she can treat you fucking well, it doesn't matter."
Yeah.
And I realized, like, first of all, ow, that fucking hurt.
I like your mom, bro. I like your mom's dope.
Bro,
Mom, do it again. Do it again.
Yeah. But again, you have to understand, my ignorance was different back then. I was a kid. I didn't know. I just moved to the country. So I was used to Greek people. That's all I knew back then for a while.
Yeah.
So you have to apologize for me being very ignorant at the moment. Now, if I see somebody say that, I'm going to snap your fucking jaw so fucking fast, and I ain't funny. I don't care. I'll do the fucking time. I'll do the fucking time. If, like, David knows. Remember what happened a couple weeks ago, David? This little punk ass bitch came out and made comments. And do you want me to repeat it, David?
Go ahead, be my guest.
Yeah. This fucker, I don't know who the bitch is, said to David, "Come on, slave, speak." And I flipped the fuck out on the stream.
What stream was this?
It was on a Thursday. You weren't on, actually. You took the night off because I think you had worked.
Oh Jesus! I wish I would have been like, bro, come on up, please. Like, I would have been like, come up and let's have a conversation.
The part about that, it was David was co-streaming on his channel on Twitch, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And now,
so it was one of your people, David. Jesus.
One of my people, they came on my platform on Twitch saying that no, but this not the first time I went to that. The first time I went to that something like that was with on BMU platform when someone from the military was trying to say, "Oh, I shouldn't speak because I don't want to give people air because I speak with animal," a false pretense that have been completely debunked ages ago.
Damn.
But yet we had uneducated buffoons that will still push that narrative.
That's
Ghost of
disgusting.
let me
Sparta,
get Arpain in
Ghost
here
of
for a second because Arpain
Ghost of
has
Sparta
been
is from New York
around.
City. But here's the thing, I'm trying to point out. New York City have a very contradicting environment, especially in the private sector. What I was pointing out, I would do that instead of what Reckless Ray was doing. But for some apparent reason, if you are good at what you do and you get curry favor from the board, they assume that you are, and that is totally uncalled for. It's a doggy dog world out here. Even Paul Bennett will admit to that. In some environment, you have to be careful who your supervisor, what kind of mindset he had, and be careful of. I had to learn that the hard way to be careful who I work under, because there's some people they will
Mm-hmm.
smile at your face for doing the job well done, but behind your back, they don't like the fact you're doing an excellent job. They want you out of there because you make them look. They make you feel like you might take their position, which I don't.
I want to get Arpain for a second because he's been around a little longer than all of us put together.
Mhm.
If we tried,
Yeah,
and
multiple
he's seen
generations.
some other thing. Fuck off, David. He's seen so many, different generations rotate and stuff like that. So, Arpain, how do you feel about what we're saying here?
I mean, listen, man. There's nothing new under the sun. I mean, I could have had this conversation back in the '70s. I mean, it's the way people treat each other. How much different really is it? You know what I'm saying? I think that here's the truth. I think black and white people are closer now today than we were back then.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? In terms of, because proximity is everything, right? The integration, even whether you want to, and that was one of the big things in segregation. The reason why they wanted blacks separate from whites is because we would be banging out their women. right? And
Facts.
back in the day, and so because proximity is everything, right? I mean, if you're a black guy in Minnesota, you're most likely you're going to have a white girlfriend, or maybe several, because it's not that many blacks up there, and vice versa for the ladies. So I mean, I just say, I mean, I think human nature takes its course with people, no matter what, right? No, there's no laws, there's no regulations, there's nothing that can keep people from getting together, right? I mean, we just do. People, like putting women in male prisons, for example. This is the stupidest shit in the world. Women guards, women guards, guarding men, and vice versa, because people are gonna stroke. They got a whole rule book from going to jail and all this shit that don't stop people from stroking.
Yeah.
I'll give
And
you a
helping them
great
escape if they
great
bust that back
example.
out right.
Wait. Arpane, I'll give you a great example. If you guys remember, almost a year ago, I worked for Monroe Joke facility up here. When I got in, literally the same day or the day before, they removed the director's assistant by handcuffs. I go, why? What happened? She goes, oh, she was fucking one of the inmates. I'm like, what? Where? The cameras everywhere. The only place you cannot have cameras, they're in the walk-in, in the freezers, in the coolers. I'm like, oh, that's probably one ass cold fucking dick. I was thinking to myself,
Bruh.
I'm scratching my head. I'm like, how did you get caught? Then he goes, oh, simple. She was calling him, and they had all these recordings. Like, what a dumb broad. I was thinking.
Oh my god. Yep.
But people forget
It's crazy.
inmates are state property. Even better, like Arpane just said, they're Block D, for example, very low crime people. They're 50 males versus one woman who is the guard. Who has the odds against who now?
Right.
I don't personally think you should have mix women guards with male inmates and vice versa. That's my
right.
personal opinion.
Well, it's just stupid. Well, first of all, we got a lot of laws that, in common sense, you wouldn't do it because everybody tries to ignore the inevitable, right? That's the same stupid thing with transgenderism, putting men in female sports. We all know inherently you're not supposed to do something that's stupid, right? Like a big 8'9" motherfucker against playing, little women. Come on, it's just stupid, man.
Bro,
So anyway, I mean,
BMU attacks all of us. Trust me.
So what?
If you remember, BMU's daughter was playing in the basketball finals. Was it? I'm
Oh
mistaken?
yeah.
And they were trying to put a boy in the game. The first one, he spoke up. He
Bruh.
got hurt, kicked out. The second one, he got nowhere near it. But my point again, there's some things you don't fucking do, like you just said, Arpane. That's one of them.
Yeah, it's just
There are things
we
you don't
do
do in
dumb
life,
stuff.
like look at people and judge people. Like, what's the old saying? Don't judge a book by a cover. And we do that every single fucking day. When are we gonna fucking stop doing that?
You might have to clean out the water first. Find out what
Man,
chemicals in the water.
no. Listen, we got 5,000 years of that working for us. That's why we do it. Like sometimes you got to cross the street so that you don't get stabbed and robbed. Like that's just what you do. And if the issue that we have is, yeah, it doesn't. Are you going to be right 100% of the time? No. Is it going to
No.
make somebody feel bad? Yes. But the one time that you're not right, you should have made the cost of making those few people. If I decide to cross the street because I don't want to have to send somebody to go talk to Jesus over my stuff to keep me from potentially going to jail, I'd rather you be offended. And the issue is we live in it's an entitlement thought that like, hey, if I choose to present myself this way, if I choose to go outside with my pants sagging, and I choose to wear some J's and not tie them, and I choose to wear a big puffy jacket and a poo shiesty mask, I deserve everything that the perception, even though it's me under all that shit. I deserve that because you know what? I'd rather me be offended once than that person be like, oh, well, I just don't want to judge anybody and then walk to their death. Because that's what happens when we don't make assumptions. If you're going to wear the uniform, if you want to present a certain way, you're going to be judged, especially if you're in a community where you're the outlier. I was one of 3 black people at the inauguration at the GOP party I went to.
All right,
You don't think some of those motherfuckers had opinions?
Hang on a second. Let's get Mr. President here really fast because I know he has something to say.
Got you, David.
President, how are you doing tonight?
I'm okay. What's going on?
What's going
No,
on?
man,
How you doing, RP?
so
Good to see
this
you,
is
bro.
I know this is a really like more like a gray area topic. I'm glad you came in, but I really felt like we needed to talk about this because it's been bothering me. So I like venting online. Did you hear the beginning at least half of the show so far?
Bits and pieces. You guys were talking first about community, then you were talking about prison inmates and women sleeping with prisoners.
Hey, but Bennett, we didn't talk about dropping the soap, so we kept it kosher.
I'm just saying. These combos tend to just go in different directions. So, if anything, I try to come on later to try to clean it up, or at least to kind of recenter the conversation where it needs to be.
The communities are divided. And we mean you have had this conversation before in your car, if you remember, and online. This is where we came up with the idea of the gray area is the white versus black or Spanish versus green or whatever you want to call it. And I personally think that needs to fucking stop completely finally. Because you were best friends pretty much, right, Paul? You consider that?
For sure. But I
And
think
I'm the most whitest Greek
but
pain in the ass you ever met.
True that. But
Hey, we mean
I
true
guess
that.
we look at things a little
Disagree
bit.
might mean me pain in the ass.
I think but we've always sort of different in terms of how we approach this. One of the main purposes of the gray area was to have two people of very different backgrounds and possibly opinions to have civil conversation.
Correct.
That didn't necessarily mean we agree on everything or that we had
Correct.
to align. It's not about alignment, but it's about how to talk. Because I saw in these spaces, especially over the past year plus, people have just lost the respect for one another and how to have a decent conversation. So that's really the way I see it. I've never been colorblind, ever. The same reason why would I go to a botanical garden and want every flower in the garden to look the same? The beauty is in the differences that you see in the diversity of what's there. So I've never been colorblind. I see exactly who you are. Yes, you are a crazy Greek, bearded, hairy dude. And I love you for it.
Sound like a Sonic Hedgehog.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
And I love you for it. I love my Nigerian, deep baritone voiced African brother. I like the recklessness of Mr. Ray De Niro here.
And these fucking guns.
Yes. And I love the big pun. The kingpin himself had the pleasure of having lunch with the gentleman,
AKA
and
Moses.
breaking bread with him. And we don't agree, probably, especially on politically, at least in the last few years, we probably don't agree on a whole lot of anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I have such respect for the man that I like diversity. I like seeing this. So again, color blindness, I think is I think you're missing something when you talk about color blindness. I see color vividly, and it's beautiful.
It's disingenuous when people say that. When they say
so for me, I mean, so again, we've always kind of sort of disagreed on that, on that thing.
Argue
It's
on
not
it.
about bringing people to sameness. I think the world would be a lot more, much more boring if we didn't have guys like Pete in the world, tattoos and all. And that's how I didn't even look at this. I mean, I am clean shaven. Look how this clean head, this clean shaven here, no tattoos, nothing on. We are as different as Odd Couple, Felix and Oscar from the Odd Couple. We're as opposite as we can be, but we have a great relationship, and so I treasure that. So if your idea of community is sameness, then I think we're never going to get anywhere with that.
Not sameness. I'm not saying that. I think being different is unique and great. But when you're using that as a crutch in a way, saying, "Hey, I cannot hang out with him because he's different."
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
But
I've
any
always been that guy to kind of, I'm almost attracted to differences, so to speak. I've always
Mm.
one. I guess I was always the outlier. I was never the popular kid. I was always the guy,
Me
and I
neither.
think a lot of us on the span, we probably kind of have that same kind of background. We were always the awkward ones. Either we were the only black kid in class, or we were the nerds in class, or whatever it was. And we just kind of had to find our way. So we always found ourselves with the misfits or the what have you. So again, for us, a lot of that stuff didn't necessarily matter because we were just looking to belong. So you want to talk about communities and tribes? We were the ones who were the communities didn't necessarily want us.
Bingo.
So we had to kind of form our own
Clan.
communities through clans, through
But
whoever it
here's
was, the
another thing,
clan of
though.
the unclanned.
There's another thing we don't talk about. You can belong to more than one community.
That is true.
100%.
There's definitely a lot of
Yep.
intersectionality. I think is how a lot
Yeah,
of
I
people
mean, that's for
call it.
sure.
I'm a perfect example.
I have real anecdotal relationship. I had a conflict on lunch just recently with some of the guys that work with me. I had the brothers, the fellas. We would go to a sushi spot, right, and hang out. But I remember I had a prior engagement with some of the white associates I had from the job. I said, "Shit, man, it's the same day." So I canceled the deal with the brothers because I could see them all the time. So I went to hang out with the white boys and shit, because it was a lot of young brothers who I kind of mentored when I was working. So I wanted to sit with them because I don't see them that often. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I was glad I made that decision. I just said, listen to the fellas. I said, let's reschedule. So we meet up anytime we want to.
Mhm.
So it was more important for me to hit that old community. A couple of older guys, some guys old. I relish once in a while getting around a couple of guys older than me. So that was cool.
Yeah. Now,
and
right. Now, I've always been the kind of person. If you would have told that to me, I would have said absolutely. Because again, if we good, then like I said, we always gonna have time. But if opportunities come up or whatever, again, if you're real friends or whatnot, you want that person to be edified. So I'd be like, yeah, man, no problem. I wouldn't have took it offensively whatsoever. So yeah. But I want to go back to this idea of community because I think the word is so overused. In that communities are supposed to be small by nature. A community typically is the names of the major people in that community.
Facts.
You know the mayor. You know who's on your board. You know the bishop, the pastor. You know the dentist because you run into them in the store, and they know you. So communities, by definition, or if you want to say clans or tribes or whatever, I mean, even communities in a lot of ways are smaller than clans and tribes. Because tribes, especially David knows about this, tribes can be in the hundreds of thousands.
Sure.
So again, I mean, so if we're not talking about that, we're talking about intimacy and relationship, the fairy tale of growing up. Everybody knew who you were, and if you got in trouble or whatever, the neighbor could beat you or something like that.
That was a community.
Yeah, because again, everybody had an intimate. Communities were such where your doors were open.
So Paul, then why do we always run the circle back to the black community and try to group a bunch? Exactly. That's what I was getting at.
Let me break this down a little bit further because I think there's a reason. I think it's a misuse of the word, but I think certainly why do clans and tribes and communities oftentimes come together? It is oftentimes because of hardship or the sense of isolation and the need and out of necessity that these groups come together. I don't care if it's in Africa. I don't care if it's in Ireland. I don't care anywhere around the world. Tribalism, clans, tribes has always been about mutual advantage or mutual survival. But once you start having like a developed nature or culture where the threats of imminent violence or takeover, like literally you could be sleeping and you could be caught, you could get caught. So when those dangers have been lifted, Now you can start thinking of yourself more as an individual, or not, or less of the need to have to capitulate to a code or a set of tribe or whatever. So I think that's what naturally happens as cultures and societies evolve. But why is it that's the same reason for that immigrant mindset when immigrants come here, especially if you're minority? So go back in the 80s and the 90s, Nigerians were just coming here.
Yep.
And they were like, there weren't enough of them to form a tribe or a clan or a community of their own. So where did they go? Oh, well, we're the people who look closest like us. So when I was at college, the Nigerians, the Ghanaians, the Africans, the Caribbeans, we were black because there were too few of us in any given area to be anything else. But as more immigration came, as more communities started to form, now we can be Nigerians. And it's to the point now where they're saying now we can be Yorubas and Igbos. We don't have to mess with them over there. So the language is interesting how the language changes depending on the numbers. My girls at college felt more uncomfortable around the Africans.
I bet.
Than they did around the Americans. They were more American than that. But but I grew up in that Pan-African, pro-black 80s and 90s era.
So question, where did you go to school?
I went to Rutgers in New Jersey.
Okay, so my question being, because like I know the dynamics of what like that area. So like everybody was very tribal in that area specifically. Like me being in Kansas City in the Midwest, people who come here from other countries don't associate. Like when we had all the Somalian immigrants come in, they have their own neighborhood. They run by their own rules.
Correct. Yeah.
They don't associate, even though they only have 3 blocks. Those 3 blocks are their 3 blocks. And if you weren't already there when they moved in,
right,
and they just adopted you, and you come in from outside, they're like, yo, what are you doing on 3 blocks?
Yeah.
Because we don't leave this area.
Correct.
We don't associate with anyone else. And it's the same. And like because like we have Kansas City is an international city, but nobody, like we have a lot of Serbians here. You never see them unless you go out to the bars they specifically go to.
Correct.
They don't associate.
Correct.
They don't even associate with white people because the cultures are different.
Correct. I don't know, even a lot of them, they don't, but that's interesting because Serbians, a lot of them, and I've known some as well, they won't even consider themselves white, even if they look.
No, because they have a culture. They know where they're from.
Until there's a need to.
100%. Because the issue is that this is the thing, and this is the reason that most, because like I get it that they were doing it where you were from, but like I've never seen an African outside of somebody who was here from a young age that's from Africa that's like been indoctrinated into our culture, consider themselves black because it is a class denomination and everybody worldwide knows that. Like if you go into Africa, they're like, we do not want to be the bottom of anything.
Correct.
And that's what the denomination of black is.
A very different dynamic because again, then you only had 1 or 2 at a time. You said the Somali immigrant.
So it's for survival.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
You were like the only, like in my classes, even in my African American studies classes, you talk about 1 or 2. One guy was Nigerian, one was Ghanaian, a couple were from the Caribbean. Everybody else was African American ADOS.
Yeah.
So again, and the school itself didn't have that many black people, period, except for Livingston College was actually made for minorities.
Yeah.
More open enrollment at that particular campus. So you had a lot more black people there.
Only people who care about integration are black Americans. Nobody.
Well, really because we're the only ones who are segregated.
Well, the point. I mean, it's just the point. I mean, I think, like you're saying, when people from other cultures are perfectly happy with setting up their own communities, even call themselves American, and they barter with other communities, right?
Yes.
You have something to offer me, I have something to offer you. If I'm like you said, Serbian, when it benefits me, I'm white.
Right.
When it doesn't, I'm Serbian.
Right.
But that's a larger issue with the immigration, right? The way our immigration laws are set up, is it takes time to be assimilated as an American. It's really about assimilation. That's why the
Yep.
demand is so much greater than the supply. They only give out like 1 million green cards a
Yep.
year, but the
Yep.
demand is like at 30, 40 million of people
Yep.
who want them every year. And if for a green card, you have to have it for like 5 years. That's an assimilation process, become a established residency and stuff like that, because it's by design. Because after the end of that string, you're somewhat American. You can have your own culture,
Yep.
but you have to learn some English. You have to do a few other things, and now you at least have some allegiance to America. And when you flood that with 20, 30 million, you can't absorb that many people.
Right.
Right.
But we've seen
Right.
these kind of communities throughout. I mean, we're in New Jersey, like New York, right? Brighton Beach, all Russian. You don't have to know English. You can speak fluent Russian. And that's it.
Yep.
Only
Yep.
Latino.
And they don't want nobody up in there either.
Correct. So
Don't even
again,
go
so
over
we've
there.
always had this tribe. I think I heard Peter talking earlier about the Bible days or whatever. Yeah, there was race. There was race. I mean, they might not have labeled it so, but the Jews didn't like the Samaritans because they were kind of like this mixed half breed kind of thing or whatever. You've always had some. Again, it's all coming from the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you want to, tribalism, racism, clanism, whatever it is, it's come from. We are different, and until we are forced to have to come together to be, I'm sure those 12 tribes of Israel didn't always get along with one another, but it's like,
Right.
look, this Egyptian pharaoh is kicking our butts, so we better get on the same page if we want to survive. Or once they got out, then we got all these other people trying to take us out.
Yep.
So we better be so again, but that's always been how it is. We come together. I may not even like you that much, but if we're gonna survive this thing, we better come up with a code or a set of standards to do that. But again, in a country like this that teaches and preaches rugged individualism, and especially with social media, it's always talking about the success of the individual, and we go after that versus what's good for the greater. It's going to be hard to put that together. So again, unless we're going to be talking about something small, that's why I think a lot of guys been talking about, like blocks. If you can't get along with the people on your block, then I don't see how this idea of community could ever be what it once was, because again, we don't live under the same conditions like our ancestors did 100 years ago, or even up to 60, 70 years ago. We're just not under those societal pressures. Everybody thinks that they can just kind of go into any environment, and you may see stuff in small areas or pockets. But again, until it gets hard, until it's like, oh snap, it's us or them, or we got to combine. It's just not going to happen, because humanity is just the way we're wired. Won't see each other that way. Cain and Abel couldn't even get along for 2 minutes.
Right.
As brothers, and because my offer is bigger and nicer than yours, I gotta take you out. So if brothers can't get along, then you're talking about clans and communities and whatnot. Again, unless there's the pressure has to be such that forces us to be together. Now we can form somewhat artificial ones. Again, communities of like-mindedness.
Yeah.
We can kind of try to form those, but as far as enforcement or that, I just don't think that's something worth pursuing. But I do like the idea of, and again, this is why I'm so grateful for the show, not just this show, but the Gray Area show. We're trying to show people again how you can be civil, how you can be respectful, and how meaningful dialogue can take place between people who come from very different perspectives, but we can still find the gray area to understand that we're human beings at the end of the day. And a lot of things we may express it differently, but at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We want family, we want a sense of belonging, we want to be loved, we want to love, and we want to just be assured that we're not alone in the world. And I think at the end of the day, that is the human condition in a nutshell. And so if I can affect half of 1% of people, I'm good with that. But I don't have moonshot goals like I did in my 20s where yeah, we're going to change the world. I think you just try to affect the world that you can influence.
I think,
Right.
Paul, the only thing you
But
are reaching right now is to avoid your stalker.
Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Now, see,
Well,
if we all
no,
had stalkers, if we all had people stalking us, then look, then we could possibly form, that'd be another thing that would bring us together. But
right.
yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to, walk my head down a little bit and just hope that this person just doesn't pop up somewhere in the flesh, and I got something I got to deal with. But yeah,
You got a stalker?
no,
yeah.
no.
I would
According to what
rather say a secret admirer rather than a stalker. I haven't seen any violence my way, but certainly romantic overtures. But yeah,
now,
Romantic overtures?
I'm
Bruh.
trying. I'm
I'm
trying
not.
to be
I'm
silly
not
here. I'm
touching
just.
that. Now, according to what my big brother Paul was saying, he was saying a neighborhood, a community is like a small group of people, like a town whatsoever, right? It's always
Hmm.
relatively small. Now, if it's safe to say those type of community have a common goal they're trying to achieve before it gets
Yes.
too big out of hand and it end up becoming tribal within that community. It is safe to say that for the past couple of years, it became extremely hard to build a community when there's not a common goal trying to be achieved due to the tribalism they have within themselves. Because you have seen it very well on multiple platforms, either BMU, either whatever platform. Among our skin type, people have become extremely tribal to the point whereby they refuse to see what is the issue at hand or how to get a solution to that problem. But rather, yeah, they other take their ignorance down to the ground and say, this is how I feel, this is what I'm going to go by. Even though it's very detrimental to them to begin with. Because, perfect example, when I came back live on the This Might Be Risky panel, I had a couple of retarded idiots would call me a tether, which is kind of like funny. Even though they showed me the comment, I decided to go, you know what? Let me introduce them to Brooklyn mindset, how we really act out here. Which it kind of shocking that they're like, how you act? I grew up out in Brooklyn, so I had to be battle tested because the environment over here, if you're not tough enough to survive New York City or Brooklyn or the crazy Bronx, then you cannot survive anywhere because it is hectic. But you have to stand your ground. What I found out is that people willfully will do things that will be detrimental. They don't care as long you don't do well. I think that is the method that been pushed out here for long enough. We have an issue, we have a problem. Let's come together and find a solution to the problem. No, I don't want to find a solution. I just don't like you. I don't care. I don't have a solid reason not to like you, but I just don't like you. That is the memo have been put out for the past either a couple of years or a couple of decades. And that's why we don't have a community anymore because there are some people are set driven to just to sabotage because they just feel like sabotaging. They don't care about finding a solution, even though the solution is beneficial for them. But I rather you not win because I just don't like you. Is that safe to say? That's what's going on in today's society?
Um, I want to get back to what you said about the common, I guess, whatever the common cause was or the common goal of that community. I think even then they were mostly selfish ones. In that you basically wanted to be able to live, raise a family,
Mm-hmm.
go to work, come home, and just live in safety. And I think back then, I think the community helped you do that because again, in part because the strategy was again to know everyone, to have a shared sense. Again, the doors were open. Kids would be. I remember one neighborhood I grew up in. The doors were open. Like you can go, you can almost have dinner at anyone's house at any given night. You just
Okay.
showed up, and it'd be like
Mhm.
there'd be the mom there. That's like, okay, here's a plate of food for you, whatever. And then in the next night, it could be at someone else's house or something. Because again, there was the sense of us.
Mhm.
But now everybody is an individual. You go to any community, you got the cameras out, the gated fences,
Hmm.
and whatnot. I mean, like in my um block, like all the houses, like all when we first moved to this development, the backyards were open. Now back in the day, that was a football field for us because all the kids in all the houses, we played football, we played whatever the sport was or whatever. We had open fields to run in.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you had the back window, more usually the kitchen, and the mom or whoever it was, everybody was looking out. I can't remember the last time. In fact, I think my nephew, he used to live in a community that was kind of like that. It was like all these kids playing together, different backgrounds, different ethnicities or whatever. It
That's
was just
how it is
the community.
with
Yeah.
when I go down Maryland and see CQ. His of them is like that. Every kid, it doesn't matter who you are or what. Everybody plays with each other and all that stuff. They don't leave the doors open anymore, obviously,
Yeah.
and have dinner. But most of them, everybody knows each other there. I'm like, how many times I'm sitting outside in his front porch having coffee or a beer, and everybody's like waving at me, like, "Hey, like, how many
Right.
people do you know, dude?" Who goes, "I know
Right.
everybody here."
But the question is, but I want to get back to this one point. We talk about
Mhm.
the doors used to be open or whatever. I'm still curious about what changed because and how much of this is actually fear versus actualized.
I think people
Like,
change.
what's the likelihood? Depending now, again, you can be in a dangerous neighborhood. I'm not saying they're not dangerous neighborhoods. There's not dangers, but I remember, for example, when I would take my kids. Now, back in the day, we used to walk to school, like several miles to walk to school. You would
Mhm.
hook up with a few guys you all went to the same school. You live in the same neighborhood. You walk to school and back. And I remember being when my kids were in elementary school. One of the things I remember seeing was you would drop your kid off. The entrance from your car to the door was probably 50 feet. And you
Mhm.
had a security guard who was there to greet the kids on the way in. The cars will not pull off until the kid goes inside
Mhm.
out of your view. So and I don't think I don't know, statistically someone could pull it up. Child thefts or whatever, is it that much better, bigger or better than it was back in the day? I don't think so. And it's not to say that again, that's not to say you're not smart, you don't lock your doors at night, you don't do certain things. But it seemed like once we started putting missing kids on milk cartons,
Mhm.
or remember our pain back in the day, they used to run these things. David, remember this too. It's 6 o'clock. Do
Right.
you know
Do
where
you
you
I
know
remember
where
that.
you're?
Yeah, I remember
Yep.
that one. I remember that.
That was
I
Yep.
mean,
LA.
and I just think people just started freaking out.
Paranoia, in
And,
other
oh my
words.
goodness, I gotta keep my kids close. I gotta keep them away from everybody. You don't know this one.
Or
People
they just
came from the
started
schools
reporting
and
it
all.
though.
I don't know what happened.
We also
Well,
got technology, so like no one
yeah.
wants to go outside.
Well, also, but they started reporting it. So if you're saying the reporting of it more, maybe it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know. I think kids are going missing all the time. Back in
Yeah. But like I
yeah,
said, I think the reporting is such where it became almost a paranoia.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah,
the
yeah,
kids
but
don't want to go outside either. Like as soon as I remember because I grew up without technology and grew up with it. So I remember when we first started getting on computers and they became cost effective and we could build our own computers and play video games. My buddy's mom, when we were in high school, freshman, sophomore year, regularly would kick us out of the house because like we would just sit down there in the basement and play on the computer all day.
Mhm.
Literally all day until like midnight, and then we would go skateboarding or whatever. But like she'd be like, you can't sit in here all day. Go outside and don't come back until X time. Don't be back inside here. That was a decision from people who spent all their time outside. We went, computer. I don't necessarily know that it's the parents. It's twofold. Like your parents are scared, but like also as soon as that screen with a game on it came to be an option, we just stayed inside and like we spent all the time outside. And we were like, yo, TV, game, controller, computer, internet, we staying inside. And we were
I know I did.
forced to go out.
I know I did.
And
Can I tell you something? Yeah? There's an Indian comedian who go across the country doing his comedy series. Where he was saying something on the podcast. It says something about this country dynamic is different from all the other countries I've been to. He said it's amazing in China. I don't know if you're referring to China or Japan. A little kid can be home alone, and that kid will be safe because in that community, everybody's looking out for that child. That child can go on the subway and not be kidnapped. Because if you try to kidnap that person, everybody going to speak. But compared to here, whereby people are so set up to be individual, no one looking out for anybody. Like I'm minding my own
Hmm.
goddamn business. And the yesteryear, it was never that the case. If you got into a fight, and your next door neighbor or someone down the block see you in a fight, then they will pull your ear. What did your dad say about you getting into a fight? When your dad come home, I'm gonna report you to you. That used to be a thing back then. Now it's all about mind your goddamn business. Leave my
Hmm.
kid alone. Don't speak to my kid. X, Y, and Z. It got so deep in that individualism, it destroyed the aspect of having a such a community. But yet, in present time, while this is going on, the other ethnic or tribal group are saying we're not gonna follow the same as they walk down. We will stick to ourselves and make sure look out for our own group. Since
Hmm.
they're too stuck in themselves. And the thing is, Paul, Peter, you can contest. New York City is like a bowling pop. You got too many tribes, too many clans. But if you've been around the city longer, you can tell who are gatekeeping their community and make sure you don't come and venture and do anything quick. Because if you by mistake touch one, there are more than 12 dozen eyes looking at you funny like, what are you doing here? Compared to our black community, you touch one, nobody cares. Because they gotta keep their value on tack and not sell themselves short compared to what the next community is doing or next tribe they're doing. And then what I've been trying to point out on some of these platforms, we lost our value system because we don't want to admit that we made a mistake and walking away from it. I've been saying it for more than 2 to 3 years. What is your value system? Why you replaced it? Why you changing someone like you change your underwear? Why have you not been consistent with your so-called value system? Then when you see someone who have a better value system than you, why not willing to learn and see how they maintain it, but you quick to take jab at it?
Hmm.
Because I came on a platform on which and I point out the obvious. We have an underlying issue. We're not willing to admit we fucked up. We are wrong. We're going down the wrong path. There's not a lot of self-reflection, self-awareness being taught to keep yourself at check. Like, okay, you know what? This is wrong. I need to change how I see things. Let me do better. Let me apologize. No, I'm sorry for accusing you because I was thinking this, which is not very right on me to do so. No one willing to admit they made a mistake and say, let's work on this. Let's go beyond that. That is our issue. Because we have now, we about to get back to Jim Crow, or we want to call it pro Jim Crow, because this nutcase want to put in that direction. And I wonder when that do happen, how would people react? How are they going to respond to that? Well, it's no big deal, but in the hindsight, big picture, it's the big deal because there's a lot of things you don't have back then that's not available right now. But I digress. I don't think they pay attention to that. But I'll leave it at that. But I think the problem is no one can admit that we have a problem unless sit down and talk it out. How can we get ourselves prepared in case this ever happens so we're not be affected by it?
David, I think it really starts in schools. To be honest with you, and because the way they learn and stuff is the way they will become, an adult. Like they see this, the guy who has it all, but he's from the streets, and they want that lifestyle, and they continue that route, but it never changes day after day. And I know kids from the streets. I know men from the streets, but it always ended the same way. You know what's the way? Anybody?
Mm-mm.
In the ground. I'm serious. Because you're on the street doing the bullshit and you end up in the ground always or behind
Oh,
bars. So why don't we change the culture?
don't think they want to
I
change the
mean,
culture.
I think that is the culture. Like that's at a certain point. I mean, at a certain point, you're gonna just replicate the system that you're in, like what you see, and you won't change. Like most people just don't change. Like it's the truth. Like if you look at go to a trailer park, most people don't leave. They stay exactly where they are because that's what they know. That's what they grew up with. If you grow up in that scenario, then that's normal. They don't see it as abnormal. That's the reason I'm saying like the culture, the community, however you want to break that down, that's their norm. That's the reason they don't just want everyone from third world countries just rolling up in here because they don't know how to fucking act here. Because their normal is not our normal. It's a different culture. We're like, yo, we don't do that. We don't rock out like that here.
And I'm glad you said that because I want to bring another topic. Me and Paul has this conversation several times, actually. You know where I'm going to go with this, Paul.
No, I have no idea where you
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Actually.
Paul, quit acting like you don't know. You
I
know.
don't. With Peter, you don't know where his mind is going.
Yeah.
Back in the day or whatever.
You've reached
just
your
made it up.
limit on
just
talking.
might as well just boot out.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh my.
All right. Me and Paul had this conversation a couple times. It's about the major special word everybody loves to use. This is the most racist word out there. You know what I'm talking about now, Paul?
Oh, the N word, sure. Okay.
Yeah. I don't understand why we use it. Think it's cool. You know, I have never used it personally because I don't want to get knocked the fuck out or get shot at personally, but that's my opinion. But I heard David say it multiple times, right, David?
What is that?
The N word. Don't act stupid. I yelled at you.
See, he just forced everybody to say it in their head that's listening, though. You might as well have just said it. Don't put the onus on everyone else.
But let me say this. Let me say this. I have been consistent on this platform when I call people brothers and sisters. I don't call people the N word because I took that conscious decision not to entertain that word. Because yes, the history of that word does not affect my people or my tribe because we did not put through that struggle or that
Mhm.
issue or the depression that came along with that word. We had something completely different from that. And that word have been used for more than 1,000+ years. And shout out to Ekenen, that's the historian, because he sometimes had to pick his brain to know what happened with what tribe, which tribe screwed up for everybody else, because there's a certain group of people who did not want other group of people to be happy. So because I'm not happy, you cannot be happy. So we will mess it up for everybody else. I could care less. That's a selfish mentality that I see far more over here. So when people calling people the N word, right?
Mhm.
I try to understand. You know the N word, it doesn't do you no good, but yet you call it a way of endowment. It's not really endowment. We know the true root of it because words have meaning. Shout out to Cheeky Bank. No, Cheeky. I don't call him Cheeky. I don't call him Cheeky Bank. But you know what I'm referring to. He always
Yep.
say word have meaning, word have definition, word have its own root cause. Why constantly use a word that its origin have always have been negative, and you don't have a play or say or change to make it positive and never going to be positive to begin with? Why go down that path? What
Because
will you gain from that?
it's normal.
So what is so you know? I was saying it before. It's normal to be negative. So what is negative? You would say it's normal.
Well, I mean, it's not even normal to be negative, but like if you think about it, it's great because you're preconditioning people to destroy themselves. Like that's the same reason we kill each other more than anybody else, even though they talk
And
about everybody wants
and
to talk about crime within the black community, and it's like we're not killing nobody else. Like we're honestly, we could take Sparta and me and go down in the hood. They gonna kill me first. They are. No, it's the truth, and I'll tell you why. What does all of our music say? I'm about to kill this nigga. I'm a bust a cap in this nigga. Fuck those niggas. We've been indoctrinated into not valuing our own lives since most of us started listening to music. So
and
no, you're
you
not
just
going to have, you know what? Sparta might get robbed, but they won't kill him because we still ascribe value to other people. We're not indiscriminately murdering anyone else. When we look up all the people that are dying in Chicago, we done just now got around to killing white people. Like everyone over there, it's the same people killing the same people. That's the reason when people bring up crime statistics, I'm like, what the fuck are you worried about besides maybe losing some stuff? Like, it's terrible, but it's terrible us what we're doing to ourselves. We're not doing that to everyone else. So, sure, you can have an area like Chicago. We don't see all them rich white people that live 2 blocks away dying. It's them people that are shooting their neighbors. They're shooting people a block over, 2 blocks over in their neighborhoods.
But why do we associate this with black people? That I don't understand. Chicago is not even in the top.
They do it in Detroit.
Cities.
They do it in Atlanta.
Detroit. Neither is Atlanta. Memphis, yeah. But you want to know the number one place the per 1,000 people in the country is Anchorage, Alaska. I got the crime stats here. But we always want to go to Philly. We want to go to Chicago because
we kill ourselves is the point. That's the only point that I'm trying to make is we kill ourselves.
Right. But again, you go to Anchorage, Alaska, and I don't think there's too many brothers up there. But again, per capita,
yeah, it's 10,000 people and they're in the dark all the fucking time. They're crazy. Like, you have to pay people to live there.
People kill where they are. So also, if you're gonna bunch of, I don't care if you're in the trailer park or
also true
in the hood. So again, if you're gonna put stuff people like sardines with low income or whatnot, yeah, you're gonna have violence and problems.
That's you're gonna have problems, but is it at the same rate? We don't have there's not a I don't know that there's a trailer park that exists, and there's scuzzy trailer parks. I've been to scuzzy trailer parks, so I know poor white people exist. I'm real acquainted. But like the issues you have in the trailer park are not the same issues that you have in the hood. They're not, because they don't grow up going, I'm killing crackers. That's not part of their vernacular. That's not a regular everyday saying for them. All of their music isn't pointing them to kill each other. It's not.
It's right.
It's just not.
And man just spoke about that.
So if you're growing up, because they do it in the military. They literally prep you to go murder people that aren't your group by coming up with pejorative names. They don't say we're going to war to kill a bunch of lawyers and people who had good business class jobs that now live in rubble because we blew it the fuck up. They say we're going to kill sand niggers. They dehumanize. That's the level 1 of getting ready to kill some people, is you make those people not you. And we do it to ourselves, consistently reinforcing that.
That is true.
Yeah, so no, there is a reason specifically that those places are referenced, because while Anchorage, Alaska might be worse, they're not shooting people, then spinning the block and shooting at their family at their funeral while they trying to grieve this person's death. They're not drilling each other in Anchorage. These things are not real. The way that we're killing each other and the rapidity is the issue, but it's engineered because of the vernacular and the language that we use.
No question. And they're not pumping guns or drugs in those communities at the same rates that certainly in some of these communities.
No, 100%. But you only had to do that once. They only had to do that once. They ain't still dropping drugs off up there. We're doing that ourselves now.
And the worst part of it is that as a black community, we try to ignore it. The only time we get up in arms is when a white person kills a black person.
Facts.
And that's it. I mean, that's why it's all bullshit. I try to stay out of those conversations.
Yeah.
Because, I'm always be the bad guy, because I would like to see, Black Lives Matter where it really matters, where Black lives trying to save each other. But we don't have.
So you're not a bad guy. You're just the one who not of the same generation we are in, because they said that ancient, that's back in the day. Because here's the thing, man. Joy had a show a year ago too when he said there's a tale of 2 Black America going on in the United States, which is actually true. And I've been saying that for more than a year plus. I say, can you admit that we had 2 versions of Black America, which is not the same anymore? And at many times I say it, only a very few willing to admit that
there were
not
there
even
were
what
two,
you addressed.
but the problem is they changed the history because we act like segregation was forever. Segregation was specifically when they released the slaves. In the North, black people owned slaves. Black people were integrated into the community. There was no segregation in the North pre the slaves moving north.
Mm.
That's also, there's always been two black Americas because
Well,
the people in the North, when the slaves started flooding in, it was two different cultures and they didn't like them. But it got so bad that they said, yo, all y'all got to live together.
Mhm.
And we've been doing this and bickering and fighting ever since. There's always been two different mindsets. There's always been two classes of black people. One class got forced to be with the other one. And
well, it's the
to
same.
Paul's
It's the
point,
same. It's the same house and field Negro syndrome. I mean, the way
it's
the way
not.
it's
No, it's not. No, it's
It
not
is.
because they weren't slaves. They weren't slaves. The whole reason that they even started the whole Civil War was because the only places where you were really, really having slaves escape like that was up north because they saw free black people that were integrated in society and doing shit. And they're like, yo, I got to work in this fucking house indefinitely. They saw freedom. It was a problem. And the northern black people helped them because they were like, yo, you look like me. Like, sucks that you're over there. But like, are you trying to get out? Like, we'll help you get out. There was no house. The whole house and slave thing came after because that's what they used to encapsulate the culture that was originally in the North, which is where your intelligent black people came from. For a lot of them. A lot of the ones that we used to get shit accomplished that already had skills, because there had to have been somebody to have had certain skills that those people didn't have once we were grouped together to build a city. Because you can.
Well, no. Well, slaves built Washington D.C.
100%. Where Washington D.C. is in the North. What were they in proximity of? Free black people. Like, all I'm saying is these are historical facts that we try to smush over as though they were treated badly. They weren't.
So they say Maryland is not a slave state.
The states that were slave states, we know which states were slave states. What I'm saying is you also had black people who owned slaves in the North. You also had free blacks that lived in white neighborhoods where the neighborhoods were integrated. There were no black neighborhoods in the North. There were just Americans there. Those are two different cultures. People who never tasted slavery.
Let me tell you, I think you kind of stretch it out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't.
That's not stretch. Look up your history, bro. Look up your history.
Look up your history. Segregated communities built in the 40s. So look up Levittown, New York.
No, 100%. I'm not. That was after the slave. Okay, so you're talking about stuff that happened after we were just stuffed and everybody was just black. What I'm saying is, while there were slaves, actual slaves, there were actual free black people. There were also actual black people who owned slaves that were in this country.
Okay,
I'm
fine.
hear from the guy.
Let's not try to. We know that some of the biggest slave traders during the slave trade was black women back in New Orleans.
100%.
They got books of that. So we know that there was black owned slaves. I did a little research. There was always 10 to 11% of black folks in the North who were freemen.
Yeah.
Right? So I have this kick about Democrats who I despise. Right now, right back in the day when the Democrats had us in shackle slavery, was that 89% of the black population here were on Democratic plantations. If you look at today, 90% of black people vote Democrat, but we're in mental shackles. Okay, they got us. We're victims. We need these programs. We need them to save us. The white liberal tells us that we can't exist without their programs. And there's a whole lot of black women, black people, but black women especially, who like that affirmation, that coddling and stuff. It's still the same percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something wrong with that. So if you do the daisy chain of events, we went from metal slavery to mental slavery. And that's where we are now. And that's why our neighbors are all fucked up. We're all programmed to believe one way. And nobody else thinks like that. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't care. We could always, if it was just 50-50 for me, that would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But,
and I've always respected
when you're running at a 90% clip, there's something wrong with us being, just dealing with one goddamn party.
Well,
and wanted to make a change
and they turn on the Yes, exactly. That's what I was about to say, David. I was like, and not only that, it's like the people who are productive and who have figured out something that apparently everybody else hasn't figured out, they don't want to talk to. They don't want to hear it. They can't be corrected. They can't take a critique. You say anything to them, it's like, oh, well, you're not like us. You date white girls. You're not like us. We don't want you in the community. Like, we're okay, like fine. Just like continue dying then. That's fine. That's great. You just won't exist. Like, I don't care.
We're morphing off of that kind of thing, especially black men are starting to morph out of that and starting to be free thinking or going into independent mode, right? You can lean right or lean left. But what I'm just trying to say is for the black community, the best thing for us is to try to gravitate towards independence. The problem with our system is if you vote Democrat or Republican, you got to accept all the planks in each party, right? If I vote for a Democrat, I got to accept all the fuck shit that they do, right? Gender affirming care,
No, you don't. You vote for. See, that's not how voting works. That is not how voting works.
If you vote for the person, if you vote for a Democrat, you voting for all of that.
No, you're not. You vote for policy. Your Democrat, your senator in your senator in your city.
You can't vote for separate policies. You only get
yes, you can. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how this country was founded.
If you're a Democrat, you present your policies is what the whole Democrats are. A Democrat's going to support those policies.
Dude, okay, then why is Bernie an independent right now? Why is AOC an independent right now? Because they didn't like the policy. They didn't like what happened.
Well, listen to me. If you
RFK left the party.
They still
Tulsi Gabbard left the party.
No, I'm not saying you can't leave the party. If you give your vote to the Democrat, you gotta accept. You're gonna might not like it.
But those people
you give them the power to enforce all the shit, all the planks in that party. Because you give them your vote.
But it's not a black and white. So within the Republican Party, there are 2 to 3 parties right now. You have your neocons who are warmongers. You have MAGA and you have America First. Within the Democratic Party, you have probably about 5 splintered parties. Not everybody votes that way. You can literally. Okay, so
you can't vote for the Green Party. You misinterpreted what I'm saying.
But you're saying that any Democrat you vote for votes for everything that Democrats vote for, and that's not true. That's what you said, and it's not true.
They circle the wagon. I'm saying if you give your vote to a Democratic mayor, for example,
yes,
right? Those people are most likely liberal, and they're gonna champion all the fuck shit in the Democrats party. If your town and your board is run by some liberal woman, right? She's gonna vote for gender affirming care. She's gonna vote for transgenderism. She's gonna vote for all that shit. Right, she might have 1 or 2 policies in there that you like, but she's
agreed. That's fine. What I'm saying is there's a way to back check that. You can. It's called National Write Your Congressman. It's $500 a year. You can see exactly what they vote for. So when I tell you that you're wrong about every single Democrat, they don't all vote for that.
Yeah,
I'm just letting you know, and that's as a registered Republican.
Let me ask you a question, though.
Yeah.
Are those people leading the party? When you go to vote, right? When you go to actually vote, are those people with their fringe things? I like this, like that. No, they're not at the top of the ticket.
No, but when who leads the party doesn't affect you. You ain't got to vote for the president. What I'm saying is the dude up the street, if you got a Republican with shit policies, you don't vote for them. That's going to fuck your city up.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, the overarching party's doing well, but my street has potholes and a fucking crater because this guy didn't feel like fixing the fucking streets.
Who do you vote for? If that guy who has those separate policies, if he's running, right? There's some individual things that he might present, but there's macro things that the whole party votes for. These guys circle the wagons. They circle the wagons.
I'm telling you that when it comes to gender affirming care, not every Democrat votes for that. RFK didn't vote for it. Tulsi Gabbard never voted for it. I'm just saying. I honestly don't even think Bernie Sanders in his elderly age. I don't think he voted for it, as crazy as he is, because all he cares about is taking money from rich
He
people.
doesn't run the party, right? If a
But you're
Democrat,
saying they all vote for it. They circle the
well,
wagon.
I'm
So if
saying
he
that
doesn't,
when
then
you
how are they all
vote,
circling the wagon?
but so, okay, you vote for these guys, they're not even at the top of the ticket, so they're not going to be able to enforce what they believe.
But okay, so Arpain, this is how voting works. You just
Uh-huh.
you vote against the guys at the top of the ticket. That's called balancing. If I
Yeah,
understand what
okay.
you're saying at the top of the ticket, I'm not saying vote for them. I'm saying at your local level, if you're just walk in and you go Republican and you just click the one thing and vote Republican down the line and you're not familiar with the
Right,
fucking policies,
right.
you shouldn't be voting.
No, okay,
That's
that's not the
that's
point.
not civic
Okay,
duty at
wait,
that point.
hold on for a second though. If you vote for your favorite Republican, for example,
Yeah,
and he's going to be a representative for a certain district, okay?
right.
Right? There's some things that that his vote for your district because you like him, but
Yeah,
then there's other things that go from his district to the city to the state that he might support because he's a Republican or
yeah,
he's a Democrat,
yeah.
right? So what I'm saying is I don't give a shit where they fall on the ledger. If they're circling the wagons, you got to accept some of the fuck shit with the stuff you want. You know, so
Okay, fair,
if I
fair.
vote for AOC, I wouldn't vote for her anyway.
Well,
But if I vote for a Bernie Sanders, the
yeah,
guy he leans towards the Democrats and the way he votes on a macro
yep,
level,
yep.
even though he
All right.
believes in progressive
So,
So
stuff.
yeah.
okay,
So
but
that's all I'm saying is like
I understand where you're
you
coming
should
from.
know at that point. It's not.
I
It's
agree with that. I agree.
yeah.
hey, put him down in.
I do. I do. Okay.
All right, David, go ahead and make a comment, and then we'll start to do our final thoughts.
Now, I'm glad I hear this argument from both ends because when we talk about political parties, the whole entire country don't really go and live according to political party, which is sad to say. You both are right on your own standing. But when you look at the topic of the show community, there is a sense of politics also in play within the community because if you want to be actually factual on this thing, whoever do we choose to be the leader of our community, you have to agree with whoever party they have that will benefit our people within that community.
Right. Right.
Now, according to our opinion argument concerning the political party, the Democratic Party is the same fundamental you apply to the Republican Party. But we both know both parties ain't good to begin with. So let's be quick to clear. It should have at least 3 or 4 different parties so you have some better option to choose from that are saying if you don't vote Democrat, you're Republican. If you don't vote Republican, you're a Democrat. It should all fall down to what policy that
Mm-hmm.
you have that would be beneficial for me and my family or me or my tribe or me or my community. That's how voting is meant to be instead of having hidden agenda policy whereby I'm forced to vote Democrat no matter what. It's like you're telling me you're saying if that's the case, then you ask me to bend over so you can peg me without no pushback, which is damn stupid. That's how I look at it. Our issue is we came to a place whereby the concept of community is intentionally being destroyed on purpose for the simple fact you don't want to have collective community who don't follow your bullshit. They have their own view, they have their own values, and that's beneficial for their group and their people. Yeah, it's safe to say you can have multiple different communities you could be a part of, but what we are seeing today's time in today's society, they don't want community to be existing. And I believe the reason behind that, because when you have multiple communities, with their own set of values, so you can see the difference of progression based on what the values they're based on, and compared to another community who may have a contradicting value that is destroying them out. Because look at the grander scale. Everybody think America is the biggest thing. America is not the biggest thing right now because there's a lot going on around the globe that we're not paying attention to. That things are changing. Black American before technology got teared down was more successful because they were efficient, their
Mm-hmm.
self-reliance.
Mm-hmm.
This country is designed to eliminate self-sufficiency,
Hmm.
self-alliance. Because you know why? When you have a community that's self-sufficient, they don't really want to depend on whatever bullshit you're trying to shove down their throat. They end up striving better than the rest of them, and they don't want that. Because when they see one community striving, other communities have to look at why can't we do what they do? They figured out the solution. Why can't we follow them? And those of the rich and wealthy don't want people to catch on to that type of logic and mindset because when you do such a thing, you hurt their bottom line. Because that's what I'm seeing in this today started for the longest. It's all about how much can I brainwash your ass and get more money out of your pockets so you don't figure out that I've been scamming you the whole entire time.
Hmm. All right. Let's get in our final thoughts. David, do you want to count that as your final thought?
Let me tell you what I found out about it concerning the community.
Your butthead.
When it comes to community, I realized there's going to be a issue of dealing with the actual truth, the actual problem. We are dealing with people who are willfully ignorant or willfully stupid, but don't want to admit they have a problem and they don't want to deal with a solution. It's safe to say we have two black America. We have people who are solution based, and you have a group of people who are drama based.
Hmm.
And those who are drama based seem to be far more than those who are solution based because of the fact they rather bitch or mourn and they want to get what they call a hand and not willing to put in the effort to work well compared to those who are solution based, willing to roll up their sleeve until they get to work and fix this issue so we want to hear it ever again. And that's something I've seen going on in America today because there are hidden communities that are taking place right now and they're hoping that they don't draw prying eye because simple fact when one community is doing very well, they find the answer to their problem and they're working and they're doing very well. There's always another group of people who either are jealous or ignorant, or if they're not happy, no one should be happy because I'm not happy. The level of selfishness being developed in this nature for so long. So this is why we would never go to finance looking to fixing the community problem. If anything, I would say find a tribe who have the same ideology, same values, and work with them quietly. Don't not advertise what you got working on because you may have another group of people who just plain willfully and they don't destroy your project. They don't want you to see you happy or successful because they're not happy. So that is my suggestion to finding a solution. Find your tribe, find your clansmen, stay in the quiet and work together quietly and build that thing up. Instead of going out in the public with it, then you have people want to sabotage you. That's my final thought.
Look, home is what you make it. Okay, so your community is what you make it. Communities start small, get active, start talking to your neighbors, fix your house first. I mean, it's beating a dead horse for me, but you start with your room, then you clean your house, then you clean your front yard, then you clean your backyard, then you talk to your neighbor about cleaning their yard. Like you got to set the example first. Um, as far as communities in the West, they exist. They're not based on color lines or identity politics. We like them to because those communities actually don't exist and in most cases never did. Your mindset, the way your value system, that's going to be the foundation of what builds your community. Find people that are like you, that agree with you. Find some people that don't necessarily fully agree with you so that you can have a healthy discourse back and forth because sometimes maybe you and your opinions are stupid. So you should definitely seek out that friction versus making an echo chamber, but what your community ends up being is going to be people that reflect what your value set is. Now, how you accomplish those, that's where semantics come in. It's not just one way to live a value set because people are different and each life is an N of one experience. So keep that in mind and build some good communities.
Hey, so it's my turn, huh? Hey, listen, I just would like to see black folks before it's all over for me stop being a monolithic community, and I think that we're trapped in this fog that we need to get out of. When, Ray, you talk about you kind of insinuate about the future a whole lot more than a lot of younger people do. Everybody's stuck in the past. Oh, my parents did this, or we were slaves, or we don't have this. There's so much woe is meism and shit. That it's just sickening to hear so many young people because they need a crutch to say why they're not achieving. I just think people need to think about the future. And I think the future for us is to be less monolithic so we can't be so easily programmed the way we are now. The whole metaphor about being on a plantation for black people is real, especially black women. Most black women are liberal, uh, and I think it hurts them. And if you start looking at a lot of and it hurts black men because too many black men have been trained to be to acquiesce to their women and makes us completely upside down in the world and against nature. And so I don't believe that there's any saving the black community as it was before. It's over. I think you have to, for the future, I think the people, especially men, have to go and find like-minded women and build a new community and leave the rest of the people who don't want to come behind. It's just as simple as that. I think there's no saving uh, women who want to be independent, who say they're perfectly happy not having children, and go into their old age alone. And there's a lot of women like that. So I say let them. I say let them. I'm just happy my daughters don't think that way. So I'm just saying, men, stand up, find some like-minded women, and they don't have to be black. They just need to be somebody you could build a community with and bring not tradition, not in the old traditional sense, but people who understand and believe in gender roles from the standpoint that men and women are different. Not that we can't do the same things, but if you're not the leader of your household as a man, then you're losing. If you ask me, so I'll just leave it like that. That's the new community we need. The old community and the black community is pretty much dead. I don't think it could be rebuilt.
Wanted to go back over something that I don't know if Pete, you dropped it in the chat. I know T Rickles, she was making some comments earlier about child abductions and whatnot. Um, just found some stats here. This is from a 2017 report that initially had 460,000 kids abducted. The reality was there were only out of that number was basically about 105 were what we would consider a stereotypical kidnapping, meaning that this was by somebody they didn't know. So some of those things reported as kidnappings was like a parent that took the child or something, or that the kid was missing for more than an hour. So the stats really are very small. 72 million people in this country between ages 0 and 17, and you're talking about 105 who've actually been kidnapped. So your chances is 1 in 720,000. Your chances of being co-joined at birth is higher. So again, I was asking a question earlier. We put up these statistics that all these kids are being abducted. But in reality, is that really true, or are we painting this picture in our minds that that it's something else? I think we're losing something. And like I said, when I saw parents wouldn't even get out of the kid is on the school grounds and you won't leave your car before they leave. I'm just thinking that again, I think there's a paranoia that's taking place, and then that paranoia is such where we can have communities. And it doesn't matter the neighborhood. I have clients that I train in very affluent neighborhoods, beautiful homes and everything, safe neighborhoods, and it's like you barely know each other because again, either there's people who are more like you in that on that block that you don't have to communicate with anybody else. You can stay in your own little happy place and have your fenced off backyards with all your amenities on it and not know anybody there. You're just an island to yourself. So I think, again, mostly communities, again, are things that come out of necessity, where there's a mutual advantage. But the world has become so civilized and so advanced that people can live independently, and there's not a need for it. And this isn't just a black issue. This is across the board. That people, it doesn't matter how affluent you are, go into a wealthy neighborhood. It's not like the $2 million houses on each other. You barely know each other. So I think a lot of people have just embraced this individuality. You'd rather be by yourself. And if that's going to be, and that is sold as the American ideal, independence, not to live within a certain code, to do what you want, whenever you want to do it, live free. Well, freedom comes with a price, and that price, I think, is ultimately communities. It may affect black communities maybe more than others, but it's affecting all of us. And I do think that, I mean, we want to talk about political parties and whatnot. Look, if, my solution for that is, again, vote local, because you're more than likely to find somebody who you can better align with politically on individual issues. No, and not every Democratic mayor is voting for gender affirming care. That I can tell you that. But certainly, you may find more people who align. It's just once you start going up the chain, you have to bring all these different groups together. Then that's when the language starts to change. So again, think more locally. It's more important to know who your mayors and your council people are and who's on your school board, probably more than who your senator is or who even the president is. So start voting locally to get a better sense of who is representing you and your interest, the people who you can actually pick up a phone or go to a board meeting and actually talk to about the issues that you're having. But senators and presidents, they have no interest in what what you think. And then also the idea of having this this sense of who's benefiting from all this division. It's typically people who are not like us on this panel, but it's a lot of oligarchs and people with money who at the end of the day, that's all they care about. So if division sells, if keeping us divided sells, then that's ultimately is what's going to win out. So again, we're fighting amongst one another, but at the people at the top, they don't care. And so again, we really need to not forget about that in terms of who benefits. And it's not people in our social classes. So let's just think about that. But I agree with certainly finding people who fit your well, to a degree, I would say finding those who certainly share your at least your basic values. I'll just say that. Have a core set of values, but again, be open to a lot of a diversity of opinions and views and even lifestyles. Like I said, every one of you, the people on this panel, comes from a very different place than I do. And I appreciate all of them. And so this, in a lot of ways, is a community for me, even though we're very different. So again, I agree with Ray when he said, don't get yourself into an echo chamber. But unfortunately, if you go back to those communities of old that we all glamorized, everybody was in an echo chamber then because everybody kind of thought the same. But all those communities, again, you had one ethnicity. I was the first one back in high school. We were the first black family on the block, and people weren't happy about it. But I like a diverse community. I like all kinds of people. Doesn't matter what your background is. But can we talk? And can we have a civil conversation? And can we embrace each other with the idea of mutual understanding so that we can develop mutual respect? I think that's the kind of community that I think we need to start thinking about. And hopefully through these platforms, we can encourage people to find those kind of avenues that we can build better communities virtually and hopefully even in person, which I've had the privilege to do with several people on this panel. So that's all I have.
After this conversation with all you guys, we still have a lot of work to do to break these walls down. I know I have a lot of work with Paul to get our message across. David, I will slap you. But let's do a quick schedule update and let's get out of here because we all have to work tomorrow. Except our pain, he's retired. Lucky him. So
He needs to be put out. He doesn't belong to this community. So
actually, our pain, you should pop your head a little more often. You've been a while since you've been up here.
No, man. You know, I see the invites. A lot of times there's conflicts. That's all.
Mm-hmm. So
we got to hook up again for real. And David, we also got to hook up, and then me and P, we need to actually all of it. Me, our pain too. We need to do a live.
Yeah.
It'd be dope if we can get all of us in the same room and we could do a live. That for 2025, let's see if we can pull something like that off. We in one place and we just do a live, get a big couch or whatever, and everybody, you
too,
is on the
right?
same time.
You should fly in,
bro. Where you guys are up in Jersey?
Just straight out of Jersey.
Man, the girls talk weird up there. It's not sexy.
Anyway, on Saturday, you're muted, David.
Thank goodness. Thank God.
You say the girl talk weird in Jordan. What about where you at? They don't talk weird too?
They talk normal. Everybody who works on TV tries to talk like we do.
Anyway, on Saturday. All right, guys, on Saturday, we'll be going over Robotech. Is it a classic series or what?
Yeah.
Shut up, David.
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
And on Sunday on the Grill, we'll be talking about coffee, actually. It's one of my favorite beverages. And next week on the anime show, we're going to be talking about Trigun. Good luck on that one. You guys are going to need it.
We're gonna have a blast on that show because we did trash one that probably I can't say predecessor, but probably right behind it, but they dropped the ball. So it will be a mixed review on that one.
Which one was that one?
It was on Gungrave because the producer of Trigun helped that anime to get recognition, but they dropped the ball the worst way possible.
Dude, Gungrave was awesome.
Next Thursday, we'll be talking about stepdad versus real dad.
Okay, here we go.
Oh boy.
What's this middle finger there, man? What's your stepdaddyism, man? What's going on, David?
So before we go, David, any last final words?
Last final word for this Thursday show. I'm not only a dad, but also a stepdad. So fuck y'all.
And a great stepdad too.
Oh, Jesus.
Reckless. The final words.
Hey man, we next week's gonna be fire.
Nah. Our pain.
No, man. I said my piece, man. I don't want to open another can of worms.
I had an over under on how long it would take before our pain brought up politics, especially over under was 12 minutes, and I think he went.
It was longer than that. It was the final word.
He said it was longer than that, bro.
Over under. Okay, it's coming. It's coming.
It was at least 30 minutes, man. Yeah.
Hey, our pain. You don't keep your mouth shut, they're gonna set your Tesla on fire.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because my Monday show is that liberal Democrats want to see America burn. TDS
literally
is not a strategy. TDS is not a strategy. That's my talk for Monday.
Paul, last final words.
Just in less than 24 hours, season 28 will come to an end.
Ooh,
it's been a great season.
Oh, cool.
So I'm just giving early shout outs to my wife. Saturday we'll start season 29, and it's been a great ride. And I just, especially after being in these places for the few years I've been in it, I just get more appreciative of what I got.
What you got?
I bet.
All good, the good, the bad, the ugly. I ain't going nowhere.
Where you go? Where you guys going? What y'all doing?
Just hanging out, probably going to AC for a couple days. Where I got to go to Grenada over the summer because my daughter started medical school down there. So we're saving up money for that. And that'll be like our vacation time. We'll be hanging out down there for a week or so. So yeah. So we just did. For us, it don't take it don't take long. Sometimes just getting out your house is enough. So we're just going to veg out for a few days and and just start planting. I mean, we already got some things already that are lined up for this year already. So it's like 1 year at a time. And we're already talking about we get an idea of what this season's going to look like, season 29. And so right now we're in draft mode and preseason mode at this point. So very excited.
Yeah, cool.
All right, guys.
Congratulations.
As always, I am Ghost of Sparta. He is Black David. He is Reckless. Grandpa Arpane and Mr. President, aka Paul. Stay fresh, stay safe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace.